So it goes without saying that the world of points and miles can be really confusing, and perhaps intentionally so. Well, since this hobby has grown just exponentially over the past 10 years, companies are really trying to find the balance between giving you value in your points and miles to keep you earning and wanting to come back, and also making a profit at the end of the day. And sometimes these companies get this completely out of balance. Sometimes it can be in our favor, while other times companies are only providing the illusion of value while really offering nothing in terms of their currency to use. That's why today I'm going through a no nonsense ranking of all of the points and miles currencies out there. I'll cover transferable currency, airline miles, and the hotel points you can earn. This will show you in an easy to compare way what's actually worth earning and investing your time and money into, and what's a complete waste. Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name's Rick and I help you save more, earn more, and experience more using credit cards. Okay, so today we're gonna rank 17 different points and miles currencies in today's video. I could probably spend an hour on every single one of these, but that's not what this video is about. It's about getting what really matters in a ranking, focusing on earning ability, flexibility in use, and point valuation to decide whether a points and miles currency is really going to be a good bang for your buck. Now, I'm going to use a classic S tier style video to stack all of these up against each other. I almost always say it in these ranking styles videos, but this is generally where these points currencies sit. But of course, your own mileage may vary. All right, let's start with transferables. These are hands down the most powerful type of points out there because you can redeem them for flights, hotels, cashback, and much more. And what better transferable currency to start our rankings off today than with Chase Ultimate Rewards points? Let's talk earnability. Chase cards have a decent mix of earnings rates with relatively low annual fees and a lot of different ways to bring points in the door. The most common way to get a ton of Chase Ultimate Rewards points is by building out the Chase trifecta. However, the trifecta still is missing categories like gas and in-person groceries, and using that Chase Freedom Flex as a rotating 5% category card can be a little bit annoying. However, once you've got Ultimate Rewards points in the door, you're in a really good place. That's because Chase points are flexible. You're guaranteed a 1 cent per point redemption in the portal, if not more, if you're able to activate their new points boost feature, which if you can find the right flight or hotel, will get your valuation up to 1.5, all the way up to potentially 2 cents per point for those choice redemptions. Now be careful, those are few and far between and only with specific brands, so I don't bank on that too often. However, if you want to transfer your Ultimate Rewards points out, Chase has a huge transfer partner list with valuable airlines and hotels as well. Now, the general value of an Ultimate Reward point is 2.05 cents per point. That's the number cited by the points guy, which I'll be using as a consistent base for every single points and miles currency I talk about today to allow us to get more of an apples to apples comparison. Now, I know a lot of you are joining me in being upset with some of the recent changes to Chase's policies, including the recent removal of the 1.25 or 1.5 cent per point guarantees with a specific Sapphire card. That does make me personally value these Chase Ultimate Rewards points lower than what the points guide does, but regardless, this is still an S tier point currency. Next up are Amex membership rewards points. Now, Amex makes it really easy to earn a ton of points really quickly with a few specific cards, most notably the Amex Gold Card, earning 4x on dining and grocery store purchases. However, just like the Amex Gold Card has a really high annual fee of $325 to do so, this is a consistent theme across all American Express cards. High annual fees for big perks and benefits. And while you might earn tons of points in some areas, they've got nothing that earns points over 1x in those non-category purchases. Unless, of course, you're comfortable bringing in a Blue Business Plus card, which would require a business to apply and get accepted for. However, once you have membership rewards points, they're really valuable. The points guide pegs valuations at 2 cents per point, and that's thanks to a long list of transfer partners, as well as on the domestic side, Delta SkyMiles and JetBlue being two airline options. I'm ranking Amex membership rewards points just below Chase in the A tier. This strong ranking is due to that transfer partner list, featuring programs with good value like Air Canada, Air France and KLM, ANA, and Avios programs. What keeps it from being an S tier is a good catch-all card, as well as the high annual fees that really add up the longer you have Amex products. Let's move to Capital One miles. In my opinion, Capital One has the simplest way to earn a ton of miles through your regular spend. Just pair either of the Venture Rewards cards with the Saver Rewards card, and you're pretty much golden on all your main categories. That being said, flexibility really depends on how you want to use your miles. If you're hoping to book domestic flights, well, it's going to be a problem finding anything outside of Capital One's travel portal. You can try some of the airline alliances, but availability is, of course, very hard to get. If you're looking to book international flights from economy to premium cabins, you're going to find a ton of great value, however, and that's where Capital One really excels. The points guy pegs Capital One miles with a 1.85 cents per mile valuation, which is slightly below Chase and Amex, and I think fairly results in Capital One's placement on this tier list in the B tier. Let's now look at Citi thank you points. Citi thank you points have changed a lot in just the past few months with new cards, new transfer partners, so let's dive on into their new refreshed ranking. First things first is earnability. This is now my favorite issuer to earn points in. The Citi trifecta in terms of getting points in your account is simply unbeatable for the earnings categories, high multipliers, and really low annual fee to hold that setup. Now, not only that, Citi just added American Airlines as a transfer partner, meaning that all of your Citi thank you points can be sent out to American Airlines for their valuable American airline redemptions. You also have a really solid international transfer partner list, highlighted by Virgin Atlantic and Air France for great value getting across the pond. Anyways, the points guy pegs this at 1.9 cents per point valuation, and I'm pegging Citi thank you points as an A tier list point currency. What about Bilt rewards points? Bilt's kind of in its own little bubble. It's relatively newer, so it's still growing a transfer partner list, and it solves one very specific problem. First things first, the Bilt card offers no sign-up bonus, and it only offers 1x back on rent payments. While it does have a few other earnings categories, most times this card is just used for rent and meeting the minimum requirements, able to get points for your rent spend. A minimum of 1x would normally be disappointing if there were other competitors. However, if you want to earn points for rent, it's not like you're going to be able to put that on any other credit card to earn currency without paying those rent transaction fees. That's why I can't really complain. And on the horizon, there could be a new Bilt card that they've been teasing for months and months and months that could help you pay your mortgage. Now, Bilt's list of transfer partners is unique, and it's pretty strong. You've got domestic options like United and the new Atmos Rewards program, which is a combination of the old Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines reward programs. You've also got strong international partners like Air France, Air Canada, and Virgin Atlantic as all options. So if you're earning Bilt points and you're combining these with another issuer, you've got some options to pool your points together in one of those other reward programs. The points guy values Bilt points for this reason at 2.2 cents per point, which is really high, and part of the reason I'm rating Bilt as an A tier currency. Finishing off our transferable currencies, what about Wells Fargo? Wells Fargo has some sneaky good earnings cards, highlighted by the Autograph and the Autograph Journey. And they've got really low annual fees across the board, and that makes Wells Fargo points fairly easy to stack up. Well, the downside, these cards aren't really special overall. The sign-up bonuses are fairly low, and the list of extensive benefits and lack of premium options really hurt the brand. Additionally, in terms of redeeming those actual points, Wells Fargo leaves a ton to be desired. There's a transfer partner list that is really lacking, and you don't really have any bonus benefits of holding Wells Fargo points that other points and miles currencies can't say they offer. The points guy values Wells Fargo points at 1.6 cents per point each, and I'm giving this a C tier ranking, placing it as our lowest transferable currency to hold. However, let's transition to category number 2, our airline points and miles. Now, just broadly speaking, when you're building a setup, you're going to want to hold transferable currency more than you're going to want airline points and miles. That's because your redemption case with airlines is pretty much locked into using that airline, so there's not a ton of flexibility, and that's just a natural fact you've got to accept when you're analyzing this type of currency. However, there's absolutely value spots, and not every airline stacks up similarly. Let's start by looking at American Airlines miles. Now, if I made this video 6 months ago, I would have said American is on an island. Outside of their own credit cards, it's really hard to keep the flow of American Airlines miles coming in. However, that would have been 6 months ago. And now we've got Citi as a transfer partner. So you've got American Airlines cards, you've got Citi cards that you can use to send in to the American Airlines Advantage program, and it all works to solid earnings potential. Now with American Airlines, redemptions and availability, well, that's a non-issue. American is one of the biggest airlines by passengers, flights, and routes, and you can use American points to book in other One World Alliance flights. With a valuation of 1.55 cents per point, American miles are valued really highly in comparison to all other airline miles. For me, this puts American in the C tier, which remember, they're going to be naturally lower than those transferable currencies. So a C tier is nothing to be ashamed about whatsoever for an airline. What about Delta SkyMiles? The best part about SkyMiles is they're really easy to earn. You've got 4 Delta SkyMiles cards with big sign-up bonuses. And remember, every Amex membership reward point you get, you could choose to transfer that over to SkyMiles currency. Now, similarly to American Airlines, availability is no problem when booking Delta. And you're probably going to find nicer planes, but you're also going to pay a premium for those ticket prices, as Delta is a more premium airline brand. However, SkyMiles are not worth a lot. The points guy pegs their valuation at 1.15 cents each, which is what I found in realistic day-to-day redemptions. Because I'd much rather just earn American Express points and then choose to send them to SkyMiles if I have a specific redemption in mind, rather than earn a bunch of SkyMiles and hold them like I actually currently have right now. I have to rate this as an E tier currency. They're just not worth very much, and you're probably better earning somewhere else. Now, what about United Mileage Plus? As I've covered in recent videos, United's recently updated their lineup of credit cards. And for me personally, I've not been the biggest fan. These have come with annual fee increases and a more complex way to get your actual money's worth out of them, with tiny credits broken down into very regular intervals in which you're able to redeem them. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. The cards are okay, and you're going to earn miles through flying United or spending on their cards with really low earnings multipliers. Chase is, of course, the transfer partner that you're going to be able to send points out to get United miles, so there's a really big opportunity to hold your points in Chase and only send them to United if you need that specific redemption. United miles on average are going to be valued at 1.3 cents per point each, so below American, but above Delta SkyMiles. For this reason, I have to put them slightly above Delta, and I'm placing United as a D tier currency. What about JetBlue's TrueBlue program? Now, unfortunately, I don't love the JetBlue list of airline credit cards. In fact, if I had to rank them, they're probably my least favorite airline credit cards to potentially hold. Now, the good thing is JetBlue has worked deals with pretty much every issuer. So whether you're with Capital One, American Express, Chase, or more, you could send those points out to JetBlue, although the transfer ratios will vary. The one cool thing with flexibility for JetBlue is they do offer something called points pooling, where you can combine points with up to 7 friends and family members, so that can make redemptions slightly easier. However, the downside in flexibility is that JetBlue is essentially a regional East Coast airline. The points guy values their points at 1.45 cents per point each, but that's still not enough to save holding this currency in my eyes. I think JetBlue is an F tier currency between poor credit cards and just limited route availability. There's not a lot of reason in my mind to invest in getting a ton of JetBlue points. Now, what about the new Southwest Airlines? I say new because a ton of things have changed with the cards, Southwest Airlines, and the way they run their operations. However, what's not changed is the lack of an impressive credit card lineup. On Southwest credit cards, you'll sometimes see huge sign-up bonuses, which can be great for earnings. But once you have those cards, the low point multipliers on those is really going to grind your fund to a halt. Now, Chase is a transfer partner, so same thing with holding your Chase points and then pushing them to Southwest if you have a specific redemption. That applies for United, and it applies in my eyes for Southwest. Now, in terms of redemptions, the points guy values Southwest points at 1.35 cents each. What I've found in my personal experience is that Southwest just dominates some redemption routes. I found that if you fly Southwest on a couple different itineraries, pretty much the only airline you'll take to go to those destinations is Southwest. People are either all in on this airline or they're all out. However, while not specifically tied to point valuation or earnings, the companion pass is based around how many qualifying points you earn. And I have to throw that a little bit of weight in these kind of rankings because that's such a big part of what getting Southwest points, getting sign-up bonuses, and their credit cards are all about. The only thing that saves Southwest is that companion pass and okay valuations when redeeming for flights, but for me, it's a D-tier currency. Now, what about the newest point and mile currency on the block? The Alaskan and Hawaiian rewards program's new Atmos rewards. Now, the brand new lineup of Atmos cards is the best way to stack these points fairly quickly. At the time I'm recording this video, for just a $95 annual fee card, you could stack 80,000 Atmos rewards points, which is a really good ratio. However, outside of the credit cards themselves, earning is going to be a problem. You can transfer Bilt points and Marriott Bonvoy points, although I wouldn't recommend the latter because of the poor conversion rate. So once you've burned through sign-up bonuses, you might be in trouble. However, Atmos does have some unique aspects to its loyalty program. Beginning in 2026, Atmos is going to let you choose whether you want to earn points based on distance flown, number of flights flown, or money you've spent on those tickets. They're also going to introduce milestone earnings, which as you earn more points, you'll be able to pick specific benefits for redemption. This is kind of customizable and way more flexible than a lot of other rewards programs and how they're built. Still, the bottom line is this is a regional airline. The points guy values Atmos points at 1.5 cents each, which is strong. But for a lot of people watching this video, it's just not going to be a beneficial currency to park your points and miles in. That's why for most people, it's just not going to be a beneficial currency to park your points and miles in. So overall, I'm placing Atmos as an E-tier currency. Now, let's wrap things up by going through our hotel brands. I'll focus on the 4 biggest and most important in the United States. Hotel currency is generally the least valuable currency to hold. In fact, some of the redemptions compared to the points you have to spend on them can be absolutely cringeworthy. However, like all of these other options, there are still spots that can provide really good value and others you'll want to be warned before diving into. Let's start with Hilton Honors. Now, Hilton has 3 credit cards with huge multipliers. On their top level one, there's even the ability to earn up to 34x back with the Hilton Honors Aspire when booking Hilton properties. And don't forget, Amex membership rewards points also transfer in at a 1-to-2 ratio. And more good news, the flexibility with these points is great. With Hilton, the footprint is pretty much everywhere with a ton of Hilton brands. However, the point value is where Hilton starts to disintegrate. And I've got bad news. Over the past few years, it's only gotten worse. Now, the points guy pegs Hilton Honors points at 0.5 cents each. And I don't think that's going to make anybody happy. If you're redeeming Hilton points for a typical stay, I've seen these points worth way less than that. Whereas some at top-end properties are able to get 1 cent per point or close to that for those really nice resorts. Now, generally, I like Hilton cards. I think they bring a lot of benefits, credits, and good status to the table. But Hilton currency, on the other hand, is getting really bad. That's why I'm ranking Hilton Honors as an E-tier currency to hold. Now let's look at IHG One rewards points. Earning through hotel stays and on their credit cards may be a little bit easier than other brands. They've got a really strong credit card offering that gets you 5x back on popular categories like travel, gas, and restaurants. Additionally, they run bonuses on buying points a few times a year. And if you can find a 100% bonus on buying those points and have a specific redemption in mind, sometimes the math can work out in your favor. Now, while IHG doesn't have the eye-popping properties in terms of brand recognition like a Marriott or a Hilton might have, they still have an impressive list of properties and offer everything from budget stays to those really top-tier resort-style experiences. Now, point valuations are similar to Hilton, terrible. But with easy ways to earn points relatively quickly, they still salvage themselves from ending up in the basement, but I'm giving them an E tier ranking nonetheless. What about Marriott Bonvoy? Now, the great thing about Marriott Bonvoy is they've got a ton of different credit cards. They've got a few with Chase and a few with Amex, and you can really follow a strategy that allows you to cycle through those and keep earning over a number of years. Marriott has a huge footprint of properties, so there's hotels pretty much everywhere. And the points guy values Marriott points at 0.7 cents each. I definitely, in real world experiences, have found these to be more valuable than Hilton and slightly more valuable than IHG, although your mileage is gonna vary based on whether you're staying domestic, international, and whether you're looking for top end or budget properties. This is probably the best known loyalty program out there in terms of hotels, and I'm rating it as a D tier currency. Last but not least, let's dive into the world of Hyatt point currency. The World of Hyatt credit card is their one solid credit card with an okay sign-up bonus, but decent benefits overall. Hyatt has Chase as a transfer partner, meaning you can earn a ton of points on Chase, hold them there, and then strategically deploy them over to Hyatt if you've got a redemption in mind. That's exactly what my wife and I did when we redeemed our Chase points on that Sapphire Prefer sign-up for essentially a 4-night all-inclusive stay in Mexico. The key with Hyatt points is their value is the one currency that's really high across the board. Now, their hotel footprint is much more spread out. If you go Hyatt and you stay in the US, you're probably compromising on location compared to where you want to be. But if you're looking for those resort destinations, well, you're going to be really happy with the value you get. The points guy pegs these at 1.7 cents a piece, which is significantly higher than their peer valuations. I rate Hyatt points as a C tier currency to hold. That's really good as far as hotel programs go. Now, let's take a look at our final rankings. As you can see, generally, I feel the order to earn points in terms of their valuations is to start in the transferables, then shift to airlines, and then finally pivot to hotels as that kind of icing on the cake to complete your setup. Now remember, like I said, the single biggest differentiator using my rankings as starting points are how you specifically plan to redeem. As always, if you enjoyed the video, I appreciate a thumbs up to help spread it to more people, and subscribe if you'd like to see more credit card content. That's all for now, and I can't wait to see you on the next video.